Hello and welcome into the RotoWire esports show. I'm Andrew Laird, joined as always by Ethan Sexton today to talk about Saturday's 5-game LPL LCK slate. Ethan, before we do, Sandbox.
Hey, let it be known that they can screw me for 7 weeks, but they're not going to screw me for 8 weeks,
That's right.
man. So, yeah, good showing. Good showing by them today. Good upset. Obviously, they just didn't score quite well enough for me to really get a takedown anywhere. But that's okay. I mean, I'm just happy to be on the right side of one of their series for once.
There you go. I was saying to you, I didn't end up playing any Sandbox. I thought it would just be better to let you have all the winnings. But I made 3 lineups, 2 with DRX, and then I showed you that the only one that won was basically like a hedge lineup with Red Force that I had with FPX, which FPX dropping a game was so annoying.
Yeah, it definitely was, but then, they more than made up for it in game 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like finally I get Sandbox right and they sweep. I wake up and I look and it's 5 a.m. and Sandbox have a 2-0 and I'm happy.
Yeah.
And then I got to wait a while and then FPX come out and drop game 1. It's like, here we go. Here we go. But, they righted the ship in the final 2 games at least. But yeah, the turns out LGD, you needed to have LGD, and then the double jungle ended up being the winner, which I wasn't expecting on this slate, just because there was ways you could go to get 2 carries, but it happened, and it is what it is.
That's right. And we move on to Saturday.
Yep.
We've got like I said, a 5-series slate. We have BLG as the biggest favorite against Rogue Warriors, which I think literally anybody against Rogue Warriors at this point is going to be a big favorite.
Yep.
Gen.g favored against T1. Afrika favored over Fredit Brion. Then we have kind of 2 toss-ups, Invictus Gaming and Rare Atom, and then Top Esports and Edward Gaming. Is BLG good enough? Is BLG too good? Because it doesn't feel like they're so good that because we've been talking a bunch this week about sometimes the biggest favorite is just so big and their odds aren't nearly what we've seen earlier this week. But BLG seems not elite enough where maybe they actually will be the highest scoring team on the slate.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, but there's reasons for concern with that series, and we talk about this a lot when teams are facing Rogue Warriors specifically. Honestly, right? Is the team too good? Do they not need to put up a lot of kills? That's part of the concern for tomorrow, but the other concern in this matchup is BLG are not always the fastest paced team.
That's fair.
That really push the momentum, so it's hard to say really. With a lot of confidence that they're just going to come out and crush. I think they certainly could. It's still a really good matchup, but obviously these salaries for BLG are pretty expensive.
Sure are.
So it's really just a matter of, are they going to pay off those prices? Now, depends on Rogue Warriors a little bit too, because we saw Rogue Warriors on Wednesday get beat 12-0 in the first game against Suning, but then they put up 28 kills, which forced Suning to put up 28 kills in game 2. Which still ended up being a sweep. So I don't know if I see that. I don't know if I see this series getting that high scoring, but BLG are definitely pretty safe. I think should win, should probably sweep. But yeah, there's definitely some cause for concern at least about are they gonna put up enough points to pay off these salaries. I can't say it with any certainty, but really wouldn't surprise me if they did. But it really wouldn't surprise me if they didn't.
Right.
So it's kind of a tough call.
So the 4 teams that lead the slate in kills per game basically play each other.
Yep.
Top and EDG are 1 and 2, and then Invictus and Rare Atom are 3 and 4. I feel like those matchups are so close that I kind of want to be like, oh, let me just look at the other series on the slate. But I guess you can roll with Gen.g if you want. I have absolutely no interest in trying to figure out T1 and don't expect them to beat Gen.g anyway. And then I guess you could make the argument that Afrika makes some sense against Fredit Brion, but like I said, I'm not dying to go there either. It's a weird slate where no team is really jumping out at me other than BLG, and that makes me usually think like, well, let me find somebody else, and there's nobody else I want to play.
Yeah, I think, when we look at that Afrika and Frederick Brion one, that's the series that seems like it's going to be the lowest kills overall, in my opinion. So I'm kind of not interested in that one at all in my lineups. And then Gen.g and T1, like to your point, like I could see a world where T1 do beat Gen.g, but are we going to have the right players? Right. That's always the problem, right? So, and it's certainly not a guarantee that they're going to win either. So that's like a pretty evenly matched series. So that one's a really hard one to call. And then when you factor in, who's going to play for T1, you have no idea. It makes it even more difficult to really want to go to that series too, right? So I'm almost looking at this like a three-game slate, lopping the 2 Korean series off and trying to build just from China. So when we look at the 3 China series, I think BLG have more upside than Rare Atom, I think. Although debatable in this series, I guess Rare Atom have a little more upside if they're going to win. Mm-hmm. But I think that IG and then the winner of EDG and Top Esports are the 3 teams with the highest ceilings on the slate, which is not a surprise to anyone. We talk about these teams in that light every time they're on the slate, right? Yep. So for me, BLG is the team with the most certainty on this slate of winning, I think. Not sure they scored the most amount of points. And then when I look at Rare Atom and IG, it's like IG are less consistent than Rare Atom, but I also think they're a better team than Rare Atom on paper.
Yep.
So, where do you want to go in that series? For me, I think it's IG, honestly, because I think IG will win, and I also think IG. Well, we know that IG have more upside, right? So I think I want to be on that side of the matchup, but you got to pay for it. That's for sure. And then, Top Esports and EDG is really even series, we would think, right? But the prices are not reflecting that at all. No. So that's an interesting one. Like, I'd rather take a shot with Top Esports, but because they're so cheap, do they become sort of popular tomorrow? And then you get leverage with EDG because nobody wants to pay the full salaries. I mean, EDG are the most expensive in 2 of the 5 roles, and then obviously they're up near the top in the other 3 as well. So they've been better than Top, but these are 2 elite teams, and a lot of times in matchups like this, if I think that the underdog is priced too low, I would rather be on that side because you get the salary savings with just as much upside and a win, right? So it's kind of where I'm at on these 5 games,
Yeah, there are just not that many opportunities where we get to like save money by playing Top. And like, mm-hmm. I think you make a good point that a lot of people are going to see that and be like, boy, I mean, they could definitely come out of that one with a win.
Oh yeah.
So if that makes people not play EDG, then maybe, I mean, like we said, they're priced as favorites. Maybe that's a way you can go. I feel fairly confident that both of these series will be high scoring enough, whether they're sweeps or 2-1s, certainly to outdo the Korean teams. And then it's just a matter of whether not having BLG is okay. And like basically if you just try to make it a 2-game slate now between those 2 close ones and hope that BLG doesn't need to do much against Rogue Warriors whose average deaths per game is just increasing by the week here. Right. But like you said, like BLG just doesn't play at a fast enough pace, whereas I feel like these other ones could just be back and forth and we just get our fantasy points that way, and you just play kind of the salary game of if they're all if they're basically toss-ups, but they're not priced that way, then just take the salary opportunity and hope for some they're barely upsets, but hope for the small upsets.
Right. I just think the odds are not reflected in the salaries, right?
Right.
Especially for that EDG Top Esports one. Like, I 100% think that EDG deserve to be favorites, but man, I don't know if they deserve to be this big of favorites, at least in the pricing, right? So that's kind of where the lean comes in on that, I guess. Yeah, it's just it's not an easy series to call, obviously, and the consideration is really just like are top going to be chalkier than they maybe should be because they're cheaper and you can fit them in with big favorites on this slate with
Hmm.
just as much upside as playing any other team. Um, it feels like when we look back on slates though that underdogs are always pretty low owned for the most part. So I don't know. It's hard to call whether they're going to be highly owned or not. It's a tough one to kind of decide on.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it?
yeah, but if I knew that everybody was going to go to top because they're cheap, I think I'd rather play EDG, right? Even though I don't agree with how the pricing is, but if I don't know if EDG are going to be low owned because they're expensive, then that's not a bad way to go either, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the game I'm gonna have to play with myself of figuring out like where I think people end up going. Like I think enough people have gotten plenty of fantasy points out of top that obviously the matchup is a tough one, but
Yeah.
um, I don't know if it's because I have I've played them more often because I think they have more upside. But I was surprised to see uh, that IG and Rare Atom were so close in terms of the odds. That because like I look at that matchup and I'm like, yeah, I want to play all of the IG guys because I think that they're better than the Rare Atom ones. But am I just overlooking too much?
No, like I agree with you, and I agree with the odds. Like I think IG are a better team, top to bottom. They have a better lineup, better players. It's just that they're very inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
And Rare Atom are, 9-3 on the season. That's an impressive record, right? They're in fourth place, tied for fourth place in the league. And IG are down in ninth with a 500 record. So it's like I don't know. Part of it is like bias because we know IG have huge upside and they can beat anybody, but
Right.
we also know they can lose to anybody, right? That's their whole issue is they're a coin flippy team. So while I agree that they should be favored, it does feel a little weird, I guess, right? To completely overlook Rare Atom, um, whose record is one of the best four in the league, right?
Right.
So I get where you're coming from there, but it's just hard for me because I think if IG are playing at the level that they can play at, they're going to win this series without much issue, in my opinion. But it's always a kind of a which IG are we going to get, right? They're really a Jekyll and Hyde type team, so I can't like say that playing Rare Atom is a bad idea. It's just probably not where I'm going to end up. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I play IG either. But even though I admit that they have as much upside as any team on this slate, so I don't know. It's a tough one.
I think you put it really well and that's kind of how I always feel about Rare Atom. That like I think they're always fine. Like whenever they're favored, like they're always fine, and I pretty much just always find somebody else to play. Like and very very rarely am I like, yeah, let me get some Rare Atom and
Yeah, I mean it's partly like they don't put up those scores that we like go wow at, right?
yeah.
They just kind of take care of business when they win, and they're not the most flashy or exciting team. Like the teams around them in the standings, like even the teams below them in the standings, like WE and Top and Suning and IG, we think of them in as much more explosive and fun to watch and high scoring teams compared to Rare Atom. So yeah, I think that plays into our bias a little, but I don't necessarily think that it's the wrong way to think either, right? So
If you had to choose who the higher scoring team is between Gen.g and Afrika, where do you fall?
I think it'll be Gen G if they both win. I think it would be Gen G.
Yeah, I'm assuming they
In my
both win.
opinion, I've said it a million times. I just don't like a freak. Like I can't get behind them ever really. Even in a matchup that looks pretty good on paper, like wouldn't surprise me at all if they lost, and even if they win, are they only putting up like 12 kills? Like it's just not where I want to go tomorrow. So I think Gen G, and same with T1. Like if T1 are going to win, I think they outscore Fredit Brian or Afrika as well. So I think the winner of that series, Gen G and T1, whoever wins there outscores. Like whoever wins that series could score quite well, honestly,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
what I was
just
starting to wonder.
not where I'm going, right? Especially with the whole T1 lineup stuff, it's just hard to go there. But we can we at least can admit that those teams do have upside. It's just harder to imagine than some of these Chinese teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way I'm playing T1.
No,
it's as simple as that. So it was more, do I think Gen.g, if they beat T1, can they put up a score that's good enough versus IG? Because I probably don't play Rare Atom, Top, or EDG or BLG. Like, I wonder if Gen.g ends up being a little overlooked just because LCK teams generally are. And it's not like a slam dunk matchup.
I think that could be the case, but it's just hard to imagine the winner of that series outscoring IG or the winner of EDG and Top is basically what it comes down to for us, right? So, yeah, I'm on board with that.
I'm also going to throw out that even though they're the biggest favorite, if you are looking to be contrarian away from BLG, I don't think playing Rogue Warriors is the way to do it.
No, not on a 5-game slate, that's for sure.
Right, like we always
cannot advocate for that.
I think you're going to be able to get plenty of fantasy points elsewhere. But I also don't think BLG is going to be that popular anyway, like overly popular, like we've seen some.
Yeah, no. I mean, I will admit, like, if BLG are going to be low owned, then I think they're a decent spot to look at as well, because this is the dream matchup for any team right now, right? So, but yeah, I think. We already said, like, it's just those three teams, IG, EDG, and Top, one of them is going to be, it feels like one of them is going to be the highest scoring team for sure. So, I think that'll get people to look away from BLG a little, but BLG have the best and safest matchup on this slate. So, just depends on kind of where you want to go.
Yep, totally agree.
Yep.
All right, if you guys have enjoyed the video, if you could please hit the like button below. Feel free to subscribe to all of the RotoWire videos. You can also subscribe to RotoWire. Just go to rotowire.com/subscribe to get all the prices for the different sports that you can get subscriptions to. If you want to try us out for free for 10 days, you can do that. Just go to rotowire.com/pod, P-O-D. Get you 10 free days to the site, no credit card required. Gets you access to all the sports we cover, as well as our subscriber Discord chat. So feel free to check that out. Ethan, thank you for that, and good luck on Saturday.
All right, same to you, man.